I wanted to say again, it's been 3 years since I went to Standing Rock. And I know that there are folks out there who think that George Soros is behind everything. And so there was people at the time that I spoke with who were, the whole thing is being organized by George Soros. It's, just meant to divide people, and it's just that whole thing. George Soros does fund a lot of different movements, and lots of different people do. It's not just the left wing that's funding movements. You got the Koch brothers and other people who are trying to influence world of. But I went to Standing Rock 3 different times in 2016, and it's crazy to believe that was 3 years ago. 3 different times. I went in August 2016. I went in October 2016, and then December 2016. Things were starting to wrap up, and I went because, as a native person and somebody who cares about issues as a journalist, I felt like this is somewhere I wanted to be. I wanted to make sure that I could stand up and represent this issue that I knew wasn't going to get proper coverage all the way till late December. When I went the third time, it was pretty much ignored in the mainstream, the deadstream corporate media. So I was there from the very beginning, and I didn't stay, continuously. I'm not trying to say I understand Standing Rock better than anybody or anything of that sort, but I definitely had a good balanced approach of beginning when it was starting out, very much in prayer and peace. Then in October, when it continued, very much in prayer and peace, but where things were getting a bit more intense, and where there was starting to be battles between protesters, water protectors, and the police, and what we would later find out were undercover agents or provocateurs. So my point is, I learned a lot in this situation, and I don't think if you weren't there, I think it might be hard to really understand the value of what took place there. So I just want to go over that again and show you some of the videos. So these are different videos that I produced at the time. November 2016, HPD gets violent at Houston Stand with Standing Rock rally. Some of you may remember this, kind of on an unrelated but sort of related note. I was downtown Houston protest, and during the protest, the police got violent, and I filmed it, and somehow focus of the police, and they chased after me, and then within days, warrants were put out for me, and it turned into a 10-month-long court battle where I had to battle HPD. They claimed that I scratched one of their officers' thumbs, and they tried to put me in the county for 6 months, and thankfully I won. My peers said that cops were full of shit. So back in November, though, we could see 167 protesters injured by police and battle at Standing Rock. Then Standing Rock eviction imminent. Then I talked about, for those who haven't heard me talk about Freedom Cells, I recommend checking out our Freedom Cells playlist. But it's the concept that we can have these decentralized, essentially community groups, neighborhood groups that can come together and support each other and defend each other in different ways, that can be supportive outside of the corporations or outside of the government's hands. And I talked about how could you use a Freedom Cell in the Standing Rock situation? How could that, collaborate? And there's a lot to be gained there. But then also, I put this video out June 2017, a year after Standing Rock, exclusive provocateurs start fires at Standing Rock, 27th, 2016. And this was my second trip there. Now, many of you may remember that once the battle heated up, there was, I was there in person. There was news reports all of a sudden talking about it, saying, oh, the protesters are setting police vehicles on fire. And I was there when that happened. And it was an entirely set up event. It was completely set up and contrived. I literally watched the police and leave their vehicles there, these kind of Humvee type vehicles, on this bridge, and then drive away. And then you see these people, these protesters who were dressed in all black, and they were kind of almost Antifa type style, and they didn't give a shit about the prayer and any of that sort of thing that, they were there just to fuck shit up. And so they're playing like cop killer, and they came in on like a truck. They all seem to know each other, and they're just basically saying, if you can't handle this, get back from the bridge, go away, go away. And I stayed there and I was filming. At one point I got surrounded by these people, and they told me to turn off my camera. So I did, and I realized it was just not a safe place. So it shows the cops coming and leaving the trucks there for the people, and then those same protesters who were more violent and aggressive than any of the other people hop over there and start setting the vehicles on fire. I mean, it couldn't have been more planned. And months later, we found out with this other video right here from June 2017, the whistleblower confirms that DAPL security set vehicles on fire. That was from an article that came out, confirming what I had already seen. And then we also heard that, undercover private intelligence agencies, namely this group Tiger Swan, was in with the local sheriff's department to infiltrate the movements in the camps and to create division, and just like total COINTELPRO shit that we've seen since the 50s, 60s, and 70s happening to this day. And this is just the reality of what was taking place back then. And so what I'm saying is, for those who really paid much attention or weren't there, I mean, it was a big battle for years. So whether it's the Dakota Access Pipeline or it's the Keystone XL pipeline, completely against all pipelines in general, but we have to recognize that there's a danger here, and indigenous communities came together from around the world to oppose to say we're not going to take it, and they literally put their bodies on the line in a way that I haven't seen any other movement do in a long time. Right here, over 380,000 gallons of Keystone pipeline in North Dakota. This is why people are protesting these pipelines, because this shit happens and there's really no accountability. So I mean, is there any wonder why people push back against these movements and these pipelines? Because this is what happens. We end up in a place where the environment gets fucked up, the land gets fucked up, and the earth is suffering. There's so much wrong with this situation. Fund this. For those of you who continue to use banks, the banks are the ones that help fund these pipeline projects, and that's why there was a big push during the Standing Rock time to pull people away from the banks, which is always a good idea. Look, you can be a lefty, a righty, whatever you want to say, but it's a good idea for us to lessen our dependence on the banks, and that's never going to be a bad move. So overall, I would say, 3 years out from Standing Rock, no, the pipelines weren't stopped. And yes, I know they're going to say, well, what about all the trash that was left there? I've heard that for years. But the reality is, friends, that the trash that was left there because they pushed the police, pushed the protesters out immediately, and they wouldn't let them come back and, clean up. They wouldn't even gather all their shit to get out of there. It was basically just a complete push out and then blame it on the protesters, like you can imagine from these type of things.
Hey everyone, this is Derrick Broze with the Conscious Resistance Network. What you just listened to was a clip from my weekly live podcast, The Conscious Resistance Live, which airs every Friday or Saturday, depending on how I'm feeling. And it is my way of bringing you the news that you might have missed that's not being covered in the mainstream and even being missed by those in the independent and alternative media. So if you want to support my efforts and support my efforts to create new documentaries, including my upcoming The 5G Trojan Horse, my upcoming book, How to Opt Out of the Technocratic State, and updates on the Epstein story and updates on the Finders investigation, then please consider investing as much as you can in our Support the Future of the Conscious Resistance Network crowdfunding campaign. Right here, you can visit that at fundraiser.com/the conscious resistance 3. The link is in the video below in the description. And I appreciate your support, because without you guys, I truly wouldn't be able to do this. Again, this is not a donation or a handout. This is an investment to invest in the future of my work. Thank you guys so much for your support. Until next time, remember, you are powerful, you are beautiful, and you are free.